Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. I am your host, Justin Dixon, and today we've got Téa Phillips on the podcast. She is the founder and CEO of ATS Innovations. She developed a product called the Metaflex Glove during her time in college and launched a business out of it. And so we talk about her journey, kind of going to work for a W-2 company. She's an engineer, and so she saved up a bunch of money, thought she had enough to start the business. Realized very quickly that starting a medical device business was a lot more expensive than what she thought. But she was all in. She mortgaged her life. She invested and liquidated all of her stocks, took out some loans just to get the business off the ground. And then we talk about her journey, kind of raising money, as well as being hit with tariffs because she does manufacture her glove in China. So very interesting episode. I think you'll get a lot out of it. So let's get Téa on the pod. Interested in hearing conversations with private equity leaders, CEOs of private equity-backed companies, and startup entrepreneurs where they share their stories about their career journeys, starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, and the important role that having the right talent plays in building a successful business, then you are in the right place. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth Capital Podcast. Here's your host, Justin Dixon. All right, Téa, thank you for being a guest on the podcast. Looking forward to having a chat.
Yeah, happy to be here, Justin.
Awesome. Well, I guess let's kind of jump in. Give us a little bit of an overview of who you are, where you are, and what you're up to right now.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Téa. I'm the founder and CEO of ATS Innovations and the inventor of the Metaflex Glove. Metaflex is the world's first and only compression glove that does grip strengthening and finger stretching. So I invented this for those on audio only. I'll describe it to you, but imagine a compression glove with stretchy resistance bands sewn in at the fingertips. And they run through these channels, and then they come out, and they have little Velcro tabs. And then there's Velcro strips on the back of the hand that mimic the tendons on each finger. So you can place the Velcro anywhere on that tab to extend your fingers. It works to open your hand so that when you're in motion, you're strengthening. When you're at rest, you're stretching. Always a really gentle compression. And I made this to help people with arthritis, but people with carpal tunnel, Parkinson's, trigger finger, scleroderma, the list goes on and on. Even athletes are using this to manage pain, improve mobility, get to that next level of performance. And we are based in Cookeville, Tennessee.
Got it. So I was looking at some of the videos online, and I was kind of curious about, like, well, first of all, how did you come up with the idea? Like, what was the, oh wow, I need this solution, because it's very unique. It's not like you were kind of, I guess weren't just kind of solving a simple problem. This seems like a very unique kind of use case.
Yeah, so I was studying mechanical engineering at Tennessee Tech University, and I was in this club called Innovation in Healthcare, iCare. And the idea was to have nursing students or healthcare students and engineering students coming together to solve medical problems. And my team and I were focused on arthritis. Arthritis is a very, very common condition that affects people across the world. 1 in 2 women and 1 in 4 men are going to develop osteoarthritis in their hands in their lifetime. So it's this big problem, and people are managing it by going to the doctor or going to the therapist. And a lot of people can't afford to do that, whether it's the copay or taking time off work or the bill that comes after you go to your visit. So we're trying to find a way for people to manage it at home. Dug into it, realized compression and grip strengthening are 2 of the most recommended holistic therapies. People are taking pain medications, Tylenol, even opioids regularly for arthritis because it's a chronic condition and it's very painful. But if you want to manage it without taking drugs, then compression for pain and circulation. And strengthening also kind of helps with the pain because you're strengthening the muscles, so you're taking the pressure off the joints when you need to use your hands. but also just improving your mobility, stretching your fingers, that kind of thing. But people weren't doing their grip strengthening exercises. Compression's easy, you wear a glove, but strengthening, you have to do your reps and remember to squeeze this thing 15 times every day in each hand. So there was a problem with compliance with these exercises when people, could go to the doctor and get these recommendations. They'd get home and they're not doing their exercises. So we wanted to make a way for people to manage arthritis at home easily. So the glove is a wearable that you wear throughout your day and you're doing the strengthening and you've got the compression. And at night, we found people with arthritis, when it progressed, they would experience their hands being closed in the morning. They would get what's called like the claw. So they'd wake up and their hand is closed and it's stiff and it's painful to open. And my grandma had really bad arthritis, and I was talking to her and she said that she slept with a tennis ball in her hand and a sock over top so that when she woke up, her fingers wouldn't be closed. And so this glove solves that problem too, because the bands keep the fingers extended at night. So we just wanted to help people with arthritis, and since it's been on the market, it's helped way more than just people with arthritis. But that was the beginning of it. And when we made it, I, like I said, talked to my grandmother, and I realized how big of an impact this would have on people's lives. And so even though it sucks to start a business and it's very difficult to get a medical device registered with the FDA and it's expensive, but I realized how much it would help people, and I felt like I had to bring it to the world at that point.
So that's an amazing story, and I'm just thinking about, I'm imagining this is probably really good for people that, for a lot of reasons, but most people sit at a desk now, right? And you type and you're hunched, and so I imagine if you're somebody like that, this could be a really easy thing to do, kind of even after you're done working, and just wear it, and you're not kind of even thinking about it, and you're actually doing things that you should be doing, but you don't have to think about it, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
interesting.
It's really helpful for people doing all sorts of repetitive motion, whether that's scrolling on your phone or, like you said, typing at the computer. I find, and I'm 29, when I type too much, this middle joint of my finger starts hurting, and it'll hurt for days. But if I wear my gloves at night, either to sleep in them, just depending on what I feel like I need, or just for a little bit during my nightly routine, I don't have pain. So it's really beneficial for people that are typing, or doing, construction, or anything where you're using your hands, like closing them, or doing something difficult or repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was outside pulling weeds the other day in our garden, and the next morning, I was like, "Oh, my hands are kind of a little sore and a little weird." So, because I don't do that very often, I hate it, but it's a necessary thing that you have to do if you want to keep your yard at least a little bit well kept. So, interesting. So, I want to dig into the business side, right? Because a lot of people that we have on the show, and a lot of the listeners are founders, or maybe want to be founders, and so it's always interesting to have somebody on that isn't building software, because software, not that it's easy by any means, but this is a very unique process because, like you said, it's a medical device. I don't know enough about the medical device world to know. I think there's levels or stages or what needs to have certain approvals and things like that, which obviously you probably know way more than I do. So maybe go back to when you were building this product in college, and then how did the actual business become a reality? Because obviously, building something is one thing, but then being like, okay, I want to invest the time, money, effort, energy, blood, sweat, tears into actually, bringing this thing so that the masses can use it, not just myself, essentially.
Yeah. Blood, sweat, tears, all of the money, all of the credits, all of my will to live was put into this. But yeah. So we made it in college, and we made it kind of going towards competing in our university's pitch competition. So think Shark Tank. Tennessee Tech has a Shark Tank, and it's called EagleWorks because we're the Golden Eagles, EagleWorks. Okay. And we competed in EagleWorks in April of 2018, and we identified our customers, and we made the financial plans, and we made prototypes. And we, did all these customer interviews, and we said, this is how much we think it'll take to make, and here's the whole plan. And we presented it, and we won. We won first place, and we won the biggest social impact award. And my grandmother was in the audience, and it just felt so good and validating, and okay, there's something to this, and my community is going to come behind me and help me get there. So we won some money, and that money went towards patents. We had one of the things that we won in that competition was a pro bono service from an IP lawyer, which was just such a blessing. And so they filed our first patent pro bono. So we just paid the filing fees, and they put it all together. And then we established the company. And from there, oh yeah, and I worked so hard getting to that competition that I was burnt out afterwards, really bad. So make sure when you're striving towards a big goal that you rest and you let yourself, because I was also in my senior year of engineering school, I'm hustling, I don't sleep, adrenaline on 20. And after the competition, when everything was done, I was crashed out, and I was depressed for 2 weeks, couldn't get out of bed, really, really bad. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, because all of those chemicals that you're building up when you're in hustle mode, once you reach that goal, it's very common for people to crash and hit a depressive state for a while. And so I learned, that's something that I'm glad I learned early on, because this has been an endurance race. Yeah. And now I'm regularly taking time off and touching grass and going and sitting by waterfalls and being out in nature and calming my nervous system.
Right.
But we won EagleWorks, and then our state, Launch Tennessee, is a state sponsor. It's Tennessee. It's a nonprofit helping startups, and they had a student pitch competition. So a few months after we won first in EagleWorks, we won third in the 3686 Launch Tennessee student pitch competition. And they don't do the student pitch competition anymore. They do one big main stage thing. But I'm trying to get them to bring back the student competition, because there we won $10,000.
Okay.
And that went towards, just all of the other things that we needed, trademarks and getting more prototypes made by a professional, because our first one of my co-founders had sewn up with her, Girl Scout sewing skills, and right. it was awesome to have that, but we needed the next level. So it helped us progress further and get some branding done and all of those things that we needed to do. And then I graduated college. So I graduated, and I had this idea, and I had this company, and I had no money at all. And I had studied engineering, so I didn't know business or any of it. So I had a job offer from a really great company in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So I worked at Y12 National Security Complex. It was such a cool job. They subcontracted for the Department of Energy. So I felt like I was doing important work, and I was making a lot of money. So I worked there for about 3 years and saved up all that I could. And then my grandma was getting worse, and I felt guilty for not having worked on really bringing this to market, because I was an engineer, I was living the life. I had a cool job and a good work schedule and great health insurance, and I was making a lot of money, but I felt the responsibility of this thing that I had made that could help so many people. And I also saw the limitations in the culture of the place that I was working. You can only grow so fast, and promotions are really political. It's who knows who. It's not about who's best for the job, because that's just how big companies are.
Yep. And
I decided to bet on myself, so I quit my job, and I had saved what I thought was enough money, and it was not enough money. You always need more money than you think you're going to need. And I had a manufacturer, and they ended up not being the manufacturer we went with. So it took me way longer to get to market. another year. I quit my job at the end of 21 and I had a manufacturer and I'm like, I'm going to market in 22 and then we're going to make all this money and like it's going to be great. But I didn't go to market until 2023 because the FDA and my manufacturer didn't have these registrations and they're like, we're going to need like an investment from you to like file all this paperwork and get it all the tests done. And I was like, I can't, like, I don't have the money to give you for this. So I had to change manufacturers and oh my gosh. Yeah, the FDA process was just me for months reading all of the CFRs, the Code of Federal Regulations, and being like, how do I fit into this? And then getting loans so that I can pay those fees, which have gone up every single year. And it's such a barrier to entry to all these new innovations that small businesses and inventors can't afford to file a patent or they can't afford to register with the FDA or like buy all of this product in bulk that you need to start your first launch. The money has been the most difficult piece of it for me.
So when you kind of had this nest egg saved up that you thought was going to be the last, money that you needed to launch this business and quickly realize that that's, not the case. How did you end up raising money, or you said something taking loans out? Like, were you just kind of like, I'm just going to do it myself? And did you have partners? Like what was the business structure like back, in the 2021, 2022 kind of time frame?
Yeah. So in 2021, I decided to bring my boyfriend, now ex, into the business. And I
Brilliant.
was like,
Perfect.
he's right. I was so smart. That's, you guys, that's sarcasm. I was stupid. Don't do it. But he had these skills that I didn't have in like marketing and sales. And I had like operations and like engineering and I knew where we were going. And he had the charisma and I'm like, he's going to help me get there. So I'm going to, give part of my business to my boyfriend and
Oh boy.
we're going to work together and like do this thing. The relationship didn't work. He's not a part of the business anymore. So I had him on the team and it was me and him, but it was mostly me. Like he was really just working on other things. And I started recruiting advisors and that's something that I did really, really well. So early on, I learned the importance of having mentors. Like my first job when I was an intern as an engineer way back in like 2016, I was working for United Technologies Aerospace Systems in Tullahoma, Tennessee, and we made landing gear for airplanes, like
Hmm.
military and commercial. And I had the best boss ever. His name was Trey. And he really poured into me and invested in me and taught me a lot. And after that, I was like, I need more mentors. So I was asking people to mentor me and finding people with skill sets that I didn't have, like marketing and sales and people who had been great leaders and are great leaders. So when I was at Y12, I found one of my mentors there too. This man who was really respected and a really great leader. And I learned leadership from him. And I was like, how do you like fuel this whole system and this culture and motivate people and give them what they need to like succeed in life and be happy? And so I surrounded myself with really great advisors and I met with all of them once a month as a group, and I still
Hmm.
do. It's my board of advisors, and I gave each of them a small percentage of the company so that they have some, stake in it and they feel ownership and they want me to succeed. And, they're going to get money when I sell. So they're invested into it. And that's something I did really well, is asking for mentors and advisors. And I find more people are willing to help you than you expect. And asking, I mean, you're going to get no's, but you're going to get yeses too. So try to
How
find
does that
mentors and advisors.
how does that process work? So if somebody's listening and they're like, I need help, but I don't have money to pay people, right? So they
Yeah.
can't recruit them full time as employees, um, but they also maybe are gun shy about giving away some of their business, right? And
As you
so
should be.
and how do you balance the advisor share that you're going to have to give them, right, to kind of be on your advisory board with the kind of return on that investment, right? Because they're doing it pro bono, except for if they're going to get equity and they're going to get cash, when you have a very successful exit and all that fun stuff. So for somebody that's like in the process of like, I need mentors, but I don't know how to get them. Like, how do you ask for mentorship? How do you ask for, to be on an advisory board other than just saying, hey, I think you're great and I think you could help me in this area. Would you be willing to be on a board? How does it work?
Yeah. Some people, I asked them to be a mentor and then they turned into an advisor.
Mm,
Because I asked them to be a mentor like when I was an engineer.
yeah.
And then I was building my board and I'm like, I need you like on my advisory board. Others, you just meet with people. You find them and you're like, would you like to get lunch? Can we get coffee? Are you free for a Zoom call? Can I like call you for 30 minutes and pick your brain and start talking to them? And if they're willing to help you, you'll know. Um, they'll have ideas for you and they'll ask you questions and they'll challenge you.
Mm,
If you find people that are just telling you, yes, you're so great, oh
mm,
my gosh, you're so great, like that's not an advisor.
yeah.
That's someone that's just pumping up your ego and they're not going to give you any feedback that's critical. And if they don't give you critical feedback, then they are not advising you.
Got it.
So steer away from yes men. Um, but think about the areas that you're not strong in. Like for me, I've gained a lot of strength in a lot of places because of my advisors, but like I was never formally trained in marketing or sales, and starting as an engineer, I was weird around people. So I just found people with skills that I didn't have, or with networks, or people who had done this before, people who had started and sold businesses, people who had worked for large corporations and like the marketing or sales side, and started meeting with them. And, after a few meetings, you can tell if like you want more of their time.
Yeah.
And when you want more of their time, it's best to compensate them for that time.
Yeah.
And that's how you build a really strong culture. Also with employees, you pay people well and you compensate them well. And equity is worth a lot, a lot, a lot. Even if it's not right now, like if you're on the track to build it and these people are going to help you, then they know that your equity is worth a lot. And you give them, as much as you feel is necessary, but like 1% or less. It's not a lot, and they can always, come on in a greater capacity and earn more. Or when you start making money, they can do these other things for you. But find people who are willing to help you and have skills that you don't have and are willing to give you critical feedback, and meet with them a few times over a few months before like you make a solid decision.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. So we're recording this in late June of 2025. So where is the business now? Obviously, I'm on your website. Looks like you can buy the glove on the website. So yeah, tell me of the business. How many people do you have? Like, what's it look like?
Yeah. Going back earlier, you asked about funding. So
Yeah.
I liquidated everything I had, my Roth IRA, my 401k, every little crypto coin I had. I had invested in GameStop and I was seeing a positive return because remember it was like 2021, 22.
Yeah.
That was such a fun time. I liquidated everything. I maxed out my credit cards. I got a loan from one of my advisors. I got a loan from a small business center, and I started going after investment, and it took me years to raise investment. I tried to start raising investment in 2022, and I didn't get my first check from a VC, from an angel group, until 2024.
Wow.
No one would bet on me. It was very frustrating, and it made me very angry, because I'm like, this is working. But anyways, I finally started raising money. So now we have raised over $500,000. I have hired my first full-time employee and I'm growing my team. So I've got part-time employees. I've got a part-time hand therapist on my team. He's my chief clinical officer, and he's writing grants and trying to get us research and trying to partner with people to get more research done on the glove and talking about it and being like that expert authority, because my authority is like engineer, like I can make things, I can set the vision, and I've learned sales and stuff, but like he's the hand therapist who can talk to, these are the conditions, these are how you use it, and then I've got a great sales guy who's also part-time, and he's finding distributors for us. So I don't have to hire this like huge sales team that goes out into all of these hospitals and supply stores and pharmacies and things like that, because we recently got covered by insurance, so we need to start pushing that side of it. So I've got sales part-time, working on those like bigger partnerships, and I've got some agencies. I also have a part-time SEO guy who's working on my website, writing blogs, getting us onto podcasts, and like making all the content that goes behind the scenes with that. I've got agencies running ads on Google and Meta and Amazon. And then my first full-time employee, Megan, she's doing marketing. So she's my brand manager, and she's in charge of everything that's outward facing. And so we're working on hiring a social media agency and people to edit video. And I'm finally not a one-woman show, and I'm finally able to invest in the things that we need to invest in. And we're moving into different markets too. So we're starting to move into the athletic market and helping basketball players and football players and rock climbers and cyclists and motorcyclists and, all of these people that use their hands in an athletic way to recover and rehabilitate and prevent injury and also hit that next level of performance. And now I'm getting to do the things that I really like doing, which is product design. So I've had so many versions of Metaflex in my notebook for years and years and years. And I've got 2 new versions coming out this year, which is very exciting. And I've got more versions coming out next year. And we're just starting to grow the product line because I finally got the funding that I needed to execute on this vision that I've had since 2018. So we're in a season of goodness and growth, but it was lots of long seasons of difficulty and struggle to get here. And I'm sure we're going to hit difficulty and struggle again because it comes in waves, it ebbs and flows. And the real key to being a great entrepreneur is to be resilient. That's the difference between people who make it and people who don't make it, is the people who make it just don't give up. They pivot, and they know that not everything that they try is going to work. And it's not like be stubborn and just keep going, even if it like pivot and make changes and flow with it, but don't give up on like the overall vision.
Yeah, it's interesting. So a couple questions here, and one's maybe a little bit more for me. But covered by insurance, are you able to use was it HSA or FSA kind of card
Yes,
for
both.
Oh, interesting. Got it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so from a product perspective, we've got the glove, and you've got some different versions coming out. I guess because you're this engineer and you have probably a notebook of other ideas. Are there other products that maybe you can't discuss, but maybe that you have coming out that are maybe for other ailments that are not just in a glove kind of form?
Yeah. We're looking at other parts of the body to implement the Metaflex technology because wearable tech is the future. I mean, it increases compliance, and it makes it so easy to improve your health. So we're going to see a lot of wearables going into the future, and we're already seeing them in rings and in watches. But my kind of technology, where it's just passive strengthening and passive circulatory improvement and all of that, we're gonna see that a lot in the future, and Metaflex is going to be there.
For your glove, I guess, do you see the need or maybe possibility of having some type of a sensor in the glove so that if you have a patient who is not always compliant, you can essentially have your glove kind of hooked up, and so it tracks your compressions, or it alerts you, hey, you haven't worn your glove today. Like I'm just kind of spitballing. You probably have already thought of these things, probably, but
We can definitely put some technology, some like mechanical, electrical technology into the product. Absolutely. The problem is it increases the cost of the glove, and so
right.
we'll just have to see what the market is looking for specifically and how to make it as cost effective as possible, because the Metaflex, the whole premise is affordable healthcare. And being able to improve your health in a way that that's accessible to everybody who needs it. So we sell a pair of gloves for $54.95. And we're about to start selling just a single glove for right under 30, so people can try it out and see if they like it, and make sure as many people as possible have access to this technology.
And I guess is the kind of next evolution of the business just to continue to kind of grow organically? Because obviously it looks like you sell on your website, you're selling through distributors. Like, are you going to go out and raise more money to kind of fuel the other product
Yeah,
lines, or okay?
we'll be raising again next year, and that's really just to expand into other countries. So we're solid in the U.S. We're growing in the U.S., but since it's a medical device, it requires, registration in all of these other countries, and all of the IP protection in the additional countries. So we filed some of it. That gives us an extension. And so next year, that timeline is going to be up, and I'm going to raise, really just to fuel the expansion of the company.
And
My
you
goal
think,
is to sell it, to
yeah.
grow it, to sell it, so that I can retire early and start working on other technologies.
Well, it feels like you could probably license the technology to another glove manufacturer or some other medical device company and just collect royalty checks. The whole royalty game seems like an interesting option
We
too.
could, we could. That's definitely an option, but I want to make it more valuable first, because
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity to be had, and we're on a roll right now. So I've already had two different companies ask me about licensing, and I was
Mm,
like, we don't, not
not
yet,
yet. Not yet. Let us
not
get a little
yet.
bit bigger, and then those checks will be a little bit larger, right? And then it makes sense.
Exactly.
Are
Yeah.
you
I'm a
manufacturing here in the
woman.
U.S. or
Do what?
are you manufacturing here in the U.S. or are you handling or dealing
No.
with tariffs and all of that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We manufacture in China,
Okay.
just like everybody else, especially in the compression space. They have decades of experience and they are the experts. They're also great people to work with, but regardless, they're the experts in compression. My manufacturer says this is the most difficult product they've ever made, because it's got these tiny little channels that you have to sew like perfectly to get everything to move the way that it needs to move. Um, and I've got more complicated versions in the pipeline that will be coming out. But yeah, so we're dealing with the tariffs, and it's an absolute nightmare. And I wish this administration would like sober up or something, because they're pissing me off. So yeah, I was importing Metaflex Glove, and this is when you said like you can cuss, because you knew you were gonna ask me this, and I was gonna get heated. I get heated, but I was importing this glove at like 12 or 13%.
Okay.
So I buy the glove, and then I pay a 12% tax to bring it in. My company
Yep.
pays it.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it went up. And it went up to like 50%, and then 80%, and then 148%. Imagine a 13% tax and then a 148% tax. And that's like, that closed so many businesses across the
Yeah.
US. Luckily, I wasn't bringing anything in right then. That all happened within like 30 days. It was
Yep.
insane. And then in May, Trump announced that he's pausing reciprocal tariffs. So that still had the tax rate at 30%. So it went from 13 or 12 to 30, which is
Hmm.
over double. Um, and he said that's going to last for 90 days, so until August 12th. So I bought as much product as my manufacturer can
Mm.
make in that time. So they're manufacturing right now, and at the end of July, they're going to ship it, and we're going to see a lot of things coming into the country right before that August 12th date to hit that like lower tariff. And then I have no idea what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I was planning on making these new versions and bringing them in, and I was still in development of some of my new versions when he paused the reciprocal tariffs. And so I had to buy what was ready. And what was ready wasn't like really what I wanted to buy. It's like, it's good, it's product that's selling already, but like I wanted to take it to that next level before like I bought a lot. Um, so we bought really just like the version that we're selling now, more of it, and it, and they're also working on these new versions, and they're gonna come in after August, but like I have no idea what it's gonna cost, which is very scary. And luckily we do have some cushion now that I just raised money. So I'm in a very fortunate position that a lot of small business owners don't find themselves in right now. Like the timing, I got very lucky and it worked out for me. But a lot of people are closing down their businesses because of the uncertainty. If you can't predict what your cost of business is going to be, then you can't stay in business. And so we're filing applications to sell in Canada because if I can't import into the US, I've got to import products somewhere. Like we're a growing business. I can't just pause it. I have
Yep.
people I need to pay. I have to get sales. I have investors. Like I have projections. I have to hit this growth to like get everyone their return on investment. There's a lot that goes into it, and changing the cost of goods changes the whole equation. So we're looking at importing into Canada after August and not then bringing it into the US because then you can't, you're still having to pay to come into the US. So
Right.
these new versions, depending on what the Trump administration does, may not make it to the US. I may have to sell those in other countries,
Hmm.
which is very disappointing, but it's the strategy we have now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't really talked to many people that kind of outlined it exactly how you did. Of you're literally sitting there and you're paying your normal tariff or tax to come in, to import goods, and then overnight it goes from 12 to 30 to 100, whatever it is, and it's like to your point. As a small business or even a big business, you can't really predict, you can't plan for the future if you don't know what the future from a cost perspective is going to look like, right? And so, yeah, that's
No
got to be very
idea.
nerve wracking.
It was very, and it still is. And I just feel very lucky that I have money in the bank because until recently I didn't have money in the bank. Like this would have closed the business.
Yeah,
But now I have a little bit of cushion and a little bit of wiggle room. And I can import at double the rate that I was importing at. But a lot of people can't do that. But
yeah,
yeah, from the day to day when he was changing it, it was like every few hours it would change. And if you were someone that was bringing goods into the US from like, I think he started it in April, like he started making those changes from April to May. If you were importing goods from April to May, like you were screwed. Like
yeah.
there was
Well, and then what do you do
nothing.
with your costs, right? So you can't, as a business, you don't want to increase your prices, right? But if you're taking 100 and if your tariff tax rate's going from 12 to 100%, like you can't eat all of that, so you've got to then pass that on to the consumer, right? So,
You can't. So businesses closed.
yeah,
American small businesses, people like me who rely on their business making money to pay themselves
right,
and to pay their mortgage and to feed their children had to close their business and find another source of income because that was so disruptive. It was so disruptive to business. And in August, it's going to be disruptive again. And we have no idea what's going to happen other than knowing what he did last time,
yeah.
which was just crazy. It made no sense at all.
Yeah, and you can't just bring manufacturing back to the US overnight, right? Especially, something that is very nuanced and specific, a compression glove that is, a medical device, right? It's not a t-shirt or anything that's, simple, quote unquote. But yeah,
If
it's
I
it's
wanted to
really
make these in the US, they wouldn't be affordable for people. Like,
yeah.
then people wouldn't be able to afford to buy it. A global economy makes so much sense because we have all of these countries that have invested into different kinds of uh, industries, like the US has heavily invested into research and academics and being this place where people are inventing things and forming new ideas and then outsourcing the manufacturing because other
Right.
countries have invested in manufacturing processes. Or yeah, so it doesn't make any sense to bring everything into one place when we've all divested, we're invested differently
Yeah.
into different industries.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting, well, we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, months, from a tariff perspective, because I work a lot with private equity firms, and they have companies that are, in tech and also in other industries that are waiting and seeing. And, it's very difficult to plan for the future in any business when there's a lot of uncertainty and you have to wait and see what next shoe is going to drop or what the next, couple of months is going to look like. Um, if we were to, jump on a podcast 12 months from now, like what's like one, two, three things that you're really hoping to achieve in the next, call it, year, that you would come on and be like, this is a fantastic 12 months?
It'll be partnerships and research.
Hmm.
So we've proposed a lot of research, and we're trying to measure how much Metaflex is increasing strength and improving mobility and range of motion. We're looking at case studies, some of which we've already collected some of the data, so it'll be coming out rather soon. Some of which won't come out in the next year. It'll take like a year to do the research. So it'll be research, it'll be partnerships, and just trying to help as many people as we can in different industries. So we've got new versions coming out that I think people are really going to love. It'll be growing the company, more products, more research, and helping more people, and with that growing the team as well, and having more people on at ATS Innovations.
No, it's awesome. And I guess, if somebody's listening to this and maybe you've got some advice for them, like, we talked a lot about your journey, and you are all in type of personality. It seems like you kind of liquidated all your assets and threw everything into the business, which is very commendable. I'm a very risk averse person, and I don't think I could have ever done that. So kudos to that, I guess. But maybe what are some of the hurdles that you had to jump over, and maybe you could give some advice so that people can, avoid the hurdles that you had to jump over, and kind of maybe have a little bit of a cleaner path to starting a business or building a business.
Don't give your boyfriend a percent of your company. He ain't your husband. Yeah, that wasn't really that bad because it was easy to just sign it back over. My main problem was just like getting funding, which is not a problem that you can really solve yourself. You have to look for other people that are willing to invest in you, or banks that are willing to give you loans. I probably would have saved up a little more money before I started, but if I hadn't just quit and jumped the boat, you have to take big risks. And it's making sure that those risks are still measured. Like, are you sure that this is going to work? What is your reason for doing this? Because like I said, a lot of people give up on this journey because they don't have a powerful enough why. Like for me, it was improving the quality of life of my grandmother, which was kind of an easy thing to jump all the way into because it's someone that I love and it's them in pain and I could help. So finding something that you're really passionate about, and asking, people to mentor you and asking for advice and not giving stock away too quickly, like give it a few months, make sure they're the perfect fit. Yeah, right now I've learned a lot about leadership. I've learned a lot about marketing, and I'm focused on like investing into my people, finding good people, hire slow, fire fast. I've had to let go of people that I brought on because I really liked them, but they weren't exactly who I needed for the position, and that sucked. And it was kind of crappy that I did that to them, and it was a lesson that I learned the hard way. And yeah, so hire really, really slow. You can't hire everybody you like.
Yeah.
You have to, yeah, and just like keep moving forward. It sucks. Being a business owner is like getting hit in the face every single day. Like you take a step forward and you fall on your face, and then you get back up and you take a step forward and you fall on your face. And eventually you'll take a step forward and you'll stand up straight. And it's like, whoa, it's a whole new world. And then there will become points where you start stepping and like the steps are going up and it feels so good and you're like, oh, it's working. And then you'll fall on your face. And it's all about resilience and building a community around you. And a lot of the times I felt like maybe I didn't have a community and I felt really alone. And then it's going out into nature and being an entrepreneur is learning a lot about yourself. because you have to face like the way you converse with people, and are you willing to like be the face of this company and have yourself be seen, which is really hard for a lot of people, and it's been really hard for me to like make videos of myself and promote myself, because it's not very natural to me. But yeah, it's been such an amazing experience and such a difficult experience, but ultimately rewarding. And I think I've been able to do it because I found something that I'm really, really passionate about and something that I believe in.
Yeah. I mean, everybody talks about, and there's books that are written about, make sure you find your why whenever you're doing anything. And starting a business is, chief among them, because you probably would have quit if it was something that was kind of superficial and not tied to your grandmother and being able to help people in pain, et cetera, et cetera.
Just
So
a little widget. I
yeah.
wouldn't have brought a little widget this far.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So no, I think all of that is great advice, and I think it'll help a lot of people along the way. Well, this has been awesome. I could probably talk for another hour or two, and we could probably really go down some rabbit holes. But maybe we'll save that for another podcast. Tay, I really appreciate your time, and I think your journey is super fascinating. And so I want to kind of end this episode like I do every episode with a three pack of questions. So first question here: what's a book or maybe a podcast that you would recommend? Somebody on our podcast to listen to.
A podcast that I really like and I listened a lot to when I was getting started was called How I Built This.
Mm,
And it's a pretty famous podcast, but you
yep.
can hear how everybody's story is different. A book that I really like is called Lunch with Lucy, and it was
Okay.
written by Sherry Deutschman, who's in Nashville, and she talks about investing in her employees. And the Lunch with Lucy is like she would go to lunch with her employees, and she wasn't Sherry the CEO, she was Lucy the coworker, and she got to know them on a personal level. That one was really, I read a lot too. So there's also a book that I read recently, called How to Make a Few $1 billion that I picked up in the airport
Okay.
on my way to China to visit my manufacturer, and I was like, I just need a few billion.
Right. Who
And it
doesn't?
was all about like mindset
Mm,
and being able to change your mindset so that you're able to tackle these really big problems. And one of the biggest like other things that he talks about is having the audacity to set big goals, and
mm,
not only to set the big goals, but to take the steps to make them. Like, it feels wrong. It feels like, how dare I? Who am I? But like, if it's humanly possible and you're a human, then it's possible for you. You just have to like
right.
have the audacity to actually do it. And those three things have been really powerful for me.
No, I love that. I'll have to check that book out. I hadn't heard of that one. So, and who wouldn't want a few $1 billion anyway? So,
Just a few. I just need
just
a
a few.
couple.
That's right. All right. Second question here. What is your favorite thing to do outside of work?
I like hanging out with my friends. I like doing art with my friends, so
Mm,
like painting pottery or painting canvases or going on hikes, listening to music. I love the art community in Cookeville. It really all comes back to like creativity, because I feel like us as humans, we were we thrive the most when we're being creative, whether that's singing or writing or dancing. I also like to celebrate every tiny win by like dancing in my office, and I look crazy to anyone passing by, but like it feels good to me. And having that full range of self-expression so that you don't get burnt out, because being an entrepreneur sucks. So I like going to art prowls and meeting local artists, and being in awe of everyone's skill and creativity, and being inspired by those people too.
awesome. No, I love it. All right. Final question here. Favorite vacation spot?
I like going down to South Florida to see my sister.
Okay.
I also like going up into the mountains because, boy, South Florida is hot. But if you can go into the Tennessee mountains, oh, it's beautiful. There's waterfalls and rivers, and the trees just canopy over you, and it's nice and cool even on a hot day. So being outside, or, being with family.
No, I love it. Yeah. No, I have not been to the mountains of Tennessee. Only been to Nashville once, so I'll have to maybe check that out for sure.
Yeah, out to Knoxville and Gatlinburg. It's
Okay.
it's like another world.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Téa, it's been awesome to learn about you and your journey, starting your business and everything. I guess if people want to reach out to you and learn about the product, about your journey, like what's kind of the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, metaflexglove.com. That's METAFLEX glove.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Téa Phillips, TEA Phillips. And my company's on LinkedIn, which is ATS Innovations. We're also on social media, which is just Metaflex Glove, again, on all of the major channels.
Got it. Yeah, we'll post and put all that stuff in the show notes so people can find you super easily. So awesome.
Perfect.
Téa, thank you very much again. It's been cool to learn about you and your journey, and I'm sure it'll help a lot of people. So thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Justin. Bye.
I hope you found at least one actionable insight from this episode of the Growth Capital Podcast, your one-stop shop for insights from private equity leaders, CEOs, and startup entrepreneurs on starting, investing in, and scaling successful businesses, as well as the role having the right talent plays in growing a successful business. It would be greatly appreciated if you would rate and review this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe and drop us a comment so we can expand the audience of this podcast. Thank you for all your support, and don't forget about upcoming episodes dropping every Tuesday.